Good afternoon and welcome to yet another event live online from NextView. Today we're going to talk about how to grow your business using AI and analytics. And I must say we have a great lineup of speakers today. We have had a webinar about Einstein for Service before, and today we're going to focus more on the sales side of things. So really how to grow your business. Our speakers today, we have Jasper Steller, Director Business Consulting from Canon Medical. Welcome, Jasper.
Thanks, Lars.
We have Reinier van Leuken, Data Scientist from Salesforce.
Thank you, Lars.
Welcome. And last but not least, Luc Martens, our BI and Analytics Practice Lead here at NextView. So, you will obviously hear from our panelists, but if you're a regular to our program, you know that we like to make these sessions as interactive as possible. So if you hover over your screen, you see the box where you can post your questions. And we'd like to encourage you to take advantage of the situation and pick the brains of our speakers today. The more questions, the better it is, and the more spontaneous we keep the session as well. So feel free to post your questions. Let me start with Reinier. Reinier, as a data scientist at Salesforce, which must be a phenomenal job, what do you see happening in the world today?
Yeah, well, it is indeed a fantastic time to be a data scientist, especially at a company like Salesforce. I mean, at Salesforce, as you know, we are all about bringing companies closer to their customers, and we do so by facilitating their digital transformation. And if you look a little bit closer, then you will find that behind every digital transformation is in fact a data transformation. People are utilize that data to react to challenges or to take advantage of opportunities. We will talk a fair bit about predictions today, but it is my prediction really that one of the key things that will define the winning companies of tomorrow is the way that companies are able to take the no regret decisions, is what I call it. Right? We are all taking decisions all day long in our business lives, whether these are small decisions, how to deal with an individual customer or an individual case, or whether these are, let's say, the tactical decisions, for example, about a certain marketing campaign, or even strategic decisions like go-to-market strategy, product launches, and things like that. All day long we are taking decisions. And the question is really, what support do your systems give you in taking those decisions? And what we are seeing more and more is that analytics is transforming into a decision support technology. Data-driven decisioning, thanks to analytics, thanks to machine learning and predictions. And for that, we are offering a wide variety of solutions at Salesforce. We have strengthened our analytics portfolio recently. As you may know, we have acquired Tableau as a company. And with that, we have really collected the world's analytics leading solution. We have analytics for the entire enterprise with Tableau. Right? Because many people ask me, what is now the difference between Tableau and Einstein Analytics, and how to use or when to use what? And really Tableau is there for all those cases where you have data coming from a wide variety of data sources, and you want to expose that data to also a very broad audience all over the enterprise, whether that is in the HR department, finance, supply chain. All those enterprises that have a need for analytical experiences can then consume the data that is shared with them through Tableau systems in a self-service BI manner. And then you may wonder, where does Einstein Analytics then fit in? Well, the answer is actually surprisingly simple. As soon as that user is a Salesforce user, working on the Salesforce platform and orchestrating business processes on that Salesforce platform, then Einstein Analytics is the solution. Einstein Analytics supports business processes on the Salesforce platform with a rich analytical experience. That can also include data coming from external systems, from non-Salesforce systems, bringing that data together and reinforcing that with machine learning and predictions. And then you said indeed that today we would talk about growing your business and the application of all of that into sales. And what we see our customers do predominantly in their sales environments is things like prioritization. Mm-hmm. In the end, we all want to make the most out of our day, right? Sales management is very close to capacity management. What do I do on a daily basis? Which customers do I interact with? And if I interact with those customers, what products can I offer them? Propensity to buy is what we call that, or which opportunities are likely to close, etc. And all those operational use cases in the sales domain is what we empower our customers with using Einstein Analytics. And I'm sure, Jasper, as a customer of Einstein Analytics and an avid user, you recognize some of those use cases.
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks for that. Indeed, I do recognize this. Sales, it's not only about pipeline, it's also about order fulfillment, which links also to your capacity remark. It's about customer surveys, about market share. So all these different data is also from those different sources we collect as well to provide them to our sales force. So they have the insight in the data, can make the actions, no matter where the data comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. So actionable decisioning on the Salesforce platform using analytics. Let's maybe bring that to life a little bit. I brought with me today a small demo clip where we will see that visualized on the Salesforce platform. So let's roll the clip where we will see a typical experience of a sales rep. He sees his home screen with his pipeline and how far he is away from achieving his target. And then we can also, of course, see that at a different time scale, right? We can see the whole fiscal year and know that we have quite a bit of business still to do. So we want to look at our pipeline, and on that right chart, we see all our accounts. And here we are bridging the gap between Salesforce and ERP because we see the open pipeline together with the revenue data that we typically store in ERP. And then if we plot it on that chart, we can see where we have a lot of pipeline and which are variable customers. And then right from within the dashboard, we can drill down into that account and open the corresponding record. So you see a couple of key themes here of Einstein already appearing. It's embedded in Salesforce, it's actionable because we can take directly CRM actions from within the dashboard, and we bring together Salesforce data with non-Salesforce data into a unique analytical experience on top of Salesforce.
Also exactly a use case we are working on as we speak right here. Yeah.
That's great, that's great. And it doesn't stop actually there, right? Because I already said it's also about predictions and machine learning. And when you think about AI, and that's also confirmed by a study that I brought with me that is recently executed by Gartner, AI is no longer the cool thing in town. It's no longer the new kid on the block. Companies are more and more realizing that there is a material business value associated to machine learning and artificial intelligence. But yet they are struggling with making the transition from pilots and proof of concepts into widely deployed scalable AI. And that's not so much anymore about data science skills. It's not so much anymore about the data itself, the study claims. It's more about how do you integrate those experiences from a technical perspective, but also from a business perspective. And there are certainly some insights that Luc will share later on in the session, but maybe you have already something to add here.
Yeah, sure. I think it's good to mention, in this Gartner report, what it I think describes great is that it doesn't have to be a problem if you don't have the data skills or the proper data. Technology supports you very much in all these things. Tools become easier to use, there's more automation, so those skills are less valuable. On the other side, having incorrect data or not enough data, there are tricks in the technology to actually solve that. But doesn't mean it's not a problem at all. I think it has to do a lot on the maturity of your colleagues, of your staff, if you're in your company, because data skills, but also the data itself, definitely is a challenge in each project.
Yeah. And there are certainly areas there where specifically a solution like Einstein Analytics supports, right, into integrating that machine learning and taking away the necessity of those very deep data science skills into the Salesforce platform. Also for that I brought with me a small clip to see what that looks like. So maybe we can roll that clip and I'll tell you what we can see over there.
Absolutely, and before we go there, I'd like to encourage the audience once again to ask any questions that you may have. Questions will end up here on my iPad, and I'll be relaying them to the right panelists. So feel free to ask any questions along the way. But yeah, let's have a look at the video.
So in this video, we have now selected our account to interact with, and there's an embedded dashboard on that account page. And on the Sales Guidance tab, we see the list of opportunities on the left, ranked by their amount, but enriched by the Einstein likelihood to close. And now we see a big opportunity which has only 37% likelihood to close as predicted by Einstein. And again, from within the dashboard, we zoom in, open the opportunity and see why that is. What are the reasons that Einstein thinks that? And what can we do to positively impact that? We immediately get recommendations how to improve that closing likelihood by interacting with the customer differently or making some changes to that particular opportunity. So really seamless experience within Salesforce with machine learning and embedded analytics brought together on the Einstein Analytics platform.
Yeah. So concluding, I think that we can safely say that that's a great way to boost your revenue. Let's see if we have questions from the audience. A question that we get a lot as well, and I'm going to ask it to you, Renier. What if your data quality is poor?
Right. Well, nobody ever said, I have perfect data, bring on the AI. This is indeed a question that we get a lot. And often in my interactions with customers, I find that in reality we are turning it around. We have worked with a large customer deploying exactly this use case around likelihood to close an opportunity. And when we started on that process with them, those predictions were very optimistic. All the deals Einstein was predicting to be closing. But when we dove that's great news, of course, but it was too good to be true. So when we dove a little bit deeper into the system, we found that actually there was not enough data logged to the system. Those opportunities that were not won were simply not part of the system. So therefore, Einstein indeed thought that there was a very high win rate. And then thanks to the deployment of this predictive use case, this continuous cycle of data improvement started. People started to see the value of logging also those other opportunities, and the system got progressively better over time. So this is not something where you wait for perfect data. This is something that you start with and that you use as a leverage to indeed tackle this very problem.
Yeah, so it gets better when you go along.
Absolutely.
So it's no boundary to start anymore.
That's correct. Yeah.
I think also very recognizable for us as well, Reinier, because we have basically the same approach. We just start, we know the data is not perfect, but basically it's embedded in the implementation that the visibility is there, so people are able to improve their data quality on the move. It becomes kind of embedded in the process.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a nice little bridge, Jasper. I was going to ask, do you recognize anything that Reinier just presented? I presume you do, but before you do so, maybe it's good to do a quick introduction of the company you work for.
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, Reinier, thanks for the introduction. Very good and interesting story. Also, Lars, thanks for the invitation and the audience this afternoon. Good afternoon. Yes, I'm Jasper Steller, the Director of Business Consulting in Canon Medical. Within Canon Medical, basically we are passionately serving societies in about 140 countries to really improve the quality of life for their citizens. We just do this in 8 different areas, really working as partners with our customers, try to add that value and enable them to improve also the life of their patients by providing state-of-the-art technology in the diagnostic imaging area. And in general, we're also part, of course, of the Canon group, which does globally a 36 billion annually, and I have another 200,000 colleagues with me. And we try to serve our customers in the very best possible way, of course, every day.
It's not a small family.
It's not a small family, it's a big family. Also, I have to admit, I don't know all of them, but we have made a start. Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. Then I think also we discussed a lot about innovation. Also, Reinier did that, and I think also really innovation is in the DNA of our company. We try to surprise and also make the everyday life of our customers better. And you can really see that also when you look to the patents, for example. In Japan, we are ranking number 1 already for years, and also in the US, we're really in the forefront when it comes to registering innovation. So it's really in our DNA to improve the environment.
Yeah. Very good.
Then, having said that, about all those innovations, also when you look to that from an internal as well an external point of view, starting with the external point of view, what we've done over the last couple of years is also really invested ourselves a lot in, let's say, machine learning, data science, artificial intelligence, also to help our customers improve their performance as well.
Okay, and so that helps. Do you apply that in many ways?
Yeah, of course. I think it's especially important because what we see nowadays, and I think that's also where data science is about, it's also sharing and learning, in my opinion. So what we see in our business we are active in, that of course there's a lot of knowledge in the hospitals, and also we have all those global conferences, which in the meantime are mainly virtual, where healthcare professionals do share this information, but the information is not really embedded into their processes. And what we do with AI and machine learning, etc., is collect all this data about those, let's say, diagnostic imaging processes across the globe, put that in a model, and really help our clients out to do diagnosis in a better way, quicker, and also provide them a clear guidance and improve their performance using those, I think, very nice and cool technologies in the end.
And I think that's what the slide that the audience is looking at now is highlighting as well,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also another very nice story is we do a lot also in sports medicine, and I was really impressed when I looked to those cases talking with my colleagues. If you see how they do use data, just also from the field, but also from healthcare, from the teams, and they are able to transform this knowledge they gather from that really into actionable insight, and then also increase that performance in the field. And I think from the examples you can see it's, I think, really well-known soccer clubs, and then, yeah, they work that way as well.
Yeah.
In a very successful
And it's a great example. It's a high-performance environment, right? And you mentioned also actionable insights. And actionable insights, that was something important to you for the project as well, correct?
I think we talked a lot about it also together with Luc over the last couple of months, and indeed it's very important. When you look to the cases I just mentioned, it's very important to have those vast amounts of data available in, I think, the right portions, but also the right way, of the right quality, in order to make that step. And we discussed this internally a lot, and we said, okay, when we do this for our customers, we have to do it ourselves, of course, as well internally. Although maybe we have less massive data, we can really use it, learn from it, and improve our performance. And when discussing also the new strategy we're working on, we said, okay, that data-driven enterprise philosophy really needs to become part of our strategy. And the key theme in that is indeed actionable insight, and for me that's very important, yeah.
Yeah. So how easy was it to get to those actionable insights?
I think from a technical point of view it was not too difficult. Because I think technology is there. I think also very good explanation by Renier about that. Basically everything is possible, it's only limited by your own creativity. But when you look to the organization, you have to really have a change of mindset, a different culture from that, because what we see, and I think that's a problem many companies are struggling with, because also when I was a consultant myself, it was a very common issue, and we are not different from that, that many people do have that Excel, they are very acquainted to it, they're used to it, they have their own BI systems. So in meetings, what we see, the discussion is more about who has the right data, rather than discussing, okay, what do we, with the information we do have. And when you try to change this also, you face that not invented here syndrome, because
everybody thinks they're right.
Yeah, everyone thinks they're right. You're completely right in that. And so those are the issues we really struggle with, and we really have to do that change of mindset in order to move to the next step.
Yeah. Okay, so we see this a lot. So what was your vision for the to-be situation?
Yeah. When we started to think about the new situation, created vision, prepare also the RFP we did to select the package in the end, we said, okay, what are the key pillars where the new era, let's say, in that actionable insight needs to adhere to? And we said it should be collaborative, so it should be very easy to work together based upon the data. So when you just look at a dashboard in many applications, you look at the dashboard and maybe you have to go to your Outlook, or you have to go to your WhatsApp, or you have to write it down to make that action. And we said, no, it needs to be natively embedded so that you just can do that quick action and track it as well to your colleague. I think that's a very important part. We said, of course, mobile is also a very important part. I think it goes without saying, they need to have the ability to use it anywhere, anytime. in the same way they use it, for example, on the desktop. Role specific, as said, we use quite a lot of stuff from Salesforce as well, so sales is using it, but also QA is using it as well. And I think you can also imagine that when you have a account manager or a managing director or QA manager, they will have different information needs. So we really need to have the ability to create those role specific dashboards.
Yeah, make it relevant for everybody, all the different roles.
Yeah. I think the other part is, I think also touched by Reinier already, so it's more tie back, really that embedded. So if you are working in a process, or you're working with master data, or you're working on customer data, and you see something is wrong, that you can just do that immediate action to drill down, open the record, change it, and if it's not clear to you, again, collaborative, make that action to your colleague. So that also answers kind of the holistic approach. It needs to be everything about data, not learning from it and do the action, but also, like you said, improving the data quality once it pops up. It's not okay yet.
Yeah. I think that's an important learning. Hey, before you move on, actually, because we are getting a lot of questions, so thank you very much for that. The first one that I'd like to pose to you, and maybe that's an interesting one for you, Jasper. How do you prevent an employee from having blind trust in the AI insights and keep a feedback loop to improve the quality of the analytics?
I think that's it's twofold, because I said those Excel stuff they trust, but it's proven also sometimes in the end, even after years, it's not true. What we really do is that we really do extensive testing and really compare the different source systems, so we know the logic is there, and the trust is everything in those applications. As soon as one finds out that it's wrong, they will never use it again, and they will revert to the Excel sheet. So we really spend a lot of time on testing in the team, and also with the data experts of the different functional areas to ensure that the data is perfect or close to perfect.
Yeah.
Based upon
and it's,
the quality we do have, of course.
I can imagine that it's also about setting expectations. If you set the expectation that it's perfect, then that's what they expect. That if you
have two things. That if you have all those different sources, of course, that it reflects the source. I think that's what we have to ensure. But in the end, it's what we always say altogether also, it's garbage in, garbage out. So we can just reflect what's there. We cannot make it better, but we provide them the ability. So when it's not good, they can do immediate action to improve their data quality.
Yeah. And you use chatter functionality to do that,
chatter
amongst others.
Mainly chatter actions and work together, collaborate through chatter to track those actions.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, very good. I have another question. I'm going back to Reinier before we're going to get back to you. It's a question from René. So it's all nice and well that everybody can have insights in Salesforce Einstein in the different reports. Is there a way to restrict data access? Because maybe not everybody's, so essentially role-based access is the question.
That's a very valid question and an excellent point. And I think that there we immediately see one of the key benefits of doing analytics right on the Salesforce platform, because of course in a Salesforce environment you have maintained a lot of those security rules. Who can see what, your own territory, or maybe just the things that you are responsible for. And that security model that has been maintained on a very detailed level in Salesforce gets natively copied over and respected by Einstein Analytics. So as soon as we do analytics on Einstein, then those same security rules will be respected in terms of servicing those insights and dashboards.
Yeah,
that's indeed what we use as well. Leverage the Salesforce security model as much as possible, and even try to link, for example, if it's customer-centric data, even if you get it from an external source, link it to the customer, apply that already existing security on top of that. Yeah.
Absolutely, very important point.
Yeah. I have another question for you, Jasper. Does Canon use any other AI tools off the shelf outside of Einstein Analytics?
No, we not yet. Of course, what I explained, we do use AI, but it's more incorporated with our products and solutions and services we provide. But at the moment, we only do use Einstein Analytics. But as I said, we focus first on the analytics part, and we are really preparing also to start making use of the AI as a next step, one step at a time.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. I have another question coming in. Thank you for being so interactive. This is makes the session very nice and very spontaneous. In which way do you test to know when you're ready for production?
I said, we all know that testing those large amounts of data, it's not too easy. But what we really do is on a high level, when it is pipeline information, customer information, especially data, which also comes from the ERP, like explained by Reinier, when it's financial data. I think there is, especially also CFOs, they are very strict. It should align, so we should not have 3 different applications all showing up in the end a different profit or a different loss. So especially on those types of data where it really comes to the trust of the people, we do quite a lot of testing to check data reconciles across systems. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So you've been on this journey for a little while. Do you have any learnings that you can share with us?
Yeah, of course. Good question, Lars. I think one of the most important, or maybe the 2 most important topics are, you should align it with your strategy very well. We also did this as part of just rethinking our strategy. And what I think personally, based upon our situation, if you don't align it with your strategy, you very easily make the mistake just only to copy your Excels to another platform. And then what I say, it's just becoming sophisticated Excels. And maybe you can work on single source of truth as well. But really look when you do such a strategy, okay, what's my strategy? What do I like to achieve? And how can I align my data strategy to the company strategy so the 2 work hand in hand together? I think that's for me a very important takeaway. The other one is, I'll say to staff, I think also, especially the sales force, we do have, I think COVID and the Corona era really helped us because first we thought starting the deployment, maybe in 2 weeks it's over, but in the end took a whole lot of time. And what we really did over this period is every week when we had new developments, we just mirrored this and reflected this, challenged this with the sales force across Europe, a number of our group companies. I think in the end this was very, very valuable because we got a hell lot of good input, and basically we're improving the dashboards every week, also together with the guys from NextView, and then reflecting. I think that really helped. I think it is not only improving the quality and making better dashboards, but I think also from a change management point of view, they get more acquainted with it, they start to raise ideas and become more something of themselves already over this period.
Yeah.
I think the other part is technology. What we really found out, I think technology as such, that's not really the issue. Basically, I think we touched it already. I think everything is possible, it's only limited by your own creativity in the end. And I think the last one is maybe more for the next step. It's about AI. We did some experiments with it. And I think we really tumble into AI, and also when it's not really out of the box models, we also just discussed this with Luc and Reinier as well. Your business knowledge becomes really utterly important because it's basically an algorithm. You put some parameters in it, and you really need to know from end to end about the process which parameters do drive that process. And if you make the wrong decision over there, it can lead to actionable insight, which is not guiding you into the right direction in the end.
Yeah.
I think that's really also a learning point we have, and for that, of course, also you have to recruit the appropriate or engage with the appropriate knowledge in the market to prevent that pitfall from happening.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. In the end, I think we're really confident in the direction. We just started the journey. I think it's a very interesting one, but very confident that we'll make it happen in the end.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's impressive to see what you've already achieved, and it's really nice to see that you are, you had such a clear vision, and you're pursuing that with Einstein Analytics, and it's starting to pay off. We have a question from the audience. Despite the fact that you've just recently started with this project, do you have any results that you can share?
I think it's mainly the lessons learned. I think we just touched it, but I think there's no simple way, okay, what's the most important one? And I think it's also kind of context driven per company, but I think this align it with your strategy and really involve your users. I think that's the most important. And what we see, especially from involving the users, to make it successful, you need to change your mindset. And over, let's say, the last 12 weeks, continuously having that discussion with them, we really see already an uptake, better ideas, and also a higher level of adoption and acceptance of the solution. So I think those are really the two main takeaways, in my opinion.
Yeah, excellent. I want to move over to Luc, actually, because you've, next you helped Canon to become more data-driven. But outside of Canon, you also speak to a lot of other clients. Do you have any lessons learned to share with us today?
Yeah, sure. So at NextView, we've been doing these projects for the past 10 years. In the beginning, we called it, I think, reporting, business intelligence. It became big data and now artificial intelligence. But despite the name, it's always about data and about analytics and helping that to support the business. The past 2 years, we've been dedicated to Einstein Analytics and Salesforce technology to do that. And actually what it all comes down to is quite similar to one of the topics that Jasper just mentioned. In the end, it's about people, right? So the data product that we're building, whether it's a dashboard, an algorithm, or a report, it should support that person in their decision making. So the whole people-centric is actually two ways that you want to use that. On one side, you want to make sure that you make sure that they have the right skill set, the right motivation, the right time. And on the other side, you want to make sure that the product that you're building is also a fit to what that person needs in the context.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a question from our viewers actually coming in, Luc. Can you make that more concrete? How do you mitigate the people aspect?
So it starts basically already before you, of course, start to select a team and a technology. I guess you can just start out by just map your business, map the people in your business on those aspects of time, motivation, and skill. And that goes for the business sponsors that may be there, so aligning it with your vision. But it also goes out to those end users. Will those end users in their day-to-day business actually have the time to use these products? Because it's going to change their way of working. So connecting, for instance, with your HR or your learning and development officer is a great first place to start, because you really have to think about upskilling your whole workforce.
Yeah, I agree. I think also when we discussed about training, especially for those type of solutions, we started, okay, how should a training look like? And first, really the discussion starts about which buttons and links and things to click in order to work with the application. I myself think, especially for those kind of data analytic solutions, that's not too important because it's very intuitive. So we discussed from that point of view, it's more important to really transfer that philosophy on what's a data-driven enterprise and how to work with that actionable insight. So what's expected from you beyond the application or beyond that solution, rather than just clicking through that solution itself.
Yeah, definitely. I think in our conversations you mentioned it as coaching. Yeah. And I like that way of thinking, because when you talk about training, it tends to be a tool training, where to click. Yeah. And there is time to learn that, but it's quite intuitive, as you said. But the real time-taking training is in the general data literacy skills. So knowing how to ask certain questions, like what is a good question, how can data support those questions, but also internally, what is our way of working, what is our business domain. The data in your systems represents what you're doing, so you have to know what you're doing in order to actually use the data to do better.
And you have to know what you're looking after, of course. So also definitions for us is really important. And like discussed the coaching, we have really depicted a person within our strategic sales department, which is involved throughout the project and also runs together with the project team those weekly discussions with the business, and also set up the training, etc. So we really look to it from the business point of view, transferring that philosophy rather than just
we can build really great data products, but if they're not used, it's still useless. Yeah. So actually focusing on that use is perhaps the most important thing in these kind of projects.
Yeah. So in an earlier Einstein Analytics webinar that we held, you actually explained a little bit about how you take the audience along on the journey using design thinking. For those who hadn't seen that session, which can be seen or reviewed back on our YouTube channel, can you explain a little bit about design thinking?
Sure. Let me link it to what Reinier showed before, the Gartner report. One of the key success factors they mentioned was a diverse work pool. And for us, within our next view design-led approach, we really think that holistic and diversity is a key aspect of your approach. It means that when you start such a project, because you're pulling data from across the whole business, you also need to involve the business across the whole business. So within that diverse group of people, that's where you have to already start. You don't start on some kind of only business intelligence island. No, you really have to get off that island and get into the business and really do it together. And the way we do that in a step afterwards is that we're really doing a lot of user research. So trying to build a clear persona for who are we building this. Researching the day in the life of, the context in which the data product is used. That's super important. Another aspect that's really part of our of design thinking tool set, let's call it like that, is prototyping, which also was mentioned in Gartner as being one of the success factors, and that Jasper just mentioned as something they learned. Every week show what you have, because on one side it's great feedback, and on the other side it's a great way to manage expectations. And to do that structurally, I think that's core to our design thinking approach. Yeah.
Basically, it drives the quality of the solution, and it drives also the adoption of the solution.
Yeah, and the result is often that what you mentioned as well, the role-based dashboards. We have seen too often that the client is trying to put every requirement in the same dashboard. And by trying to serve everyone with that one dashboard, they're actually serving nobody. One size fits nobody.
Right.
And I think it becomes less flexible as well. I think when you start already with this role-specific approach, it makes you also more flexible towards the future. Because once they really start to work in a production environment and start to collect that daily experience, they will have different wishes because they are different. They do have different roles.
Exactly.
So even if maybe in the beginning, I think we see the same. I think the different dashboards, maybe for up to 60-65%, they are the same. It will definitely differ in a year from now because they will learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if I may add to that, I think design thinking is in a way the answer to one of the questions that came from the audience, like how do you avoid people getting blind trust in the system? Because this is not a business intelligence project, right? This is a business project, and by involving those business stakeholders from the beginning, they give their input, and that also allows you to set up the system in such a way that when it makes, for example, recommendations, those recommendations are explained. It should never be just a score or a number, but it should always serve as the reasons why. And the system is able to do so thanks to the input that the users give during this design thinking phase. So I think that's a crucial step into getting that trust and adoption of the solution.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting more questions in for Reinier. The recommendations and predictions, is this based on black box models?
So I think we were just already in a way discussing that. The models are auto machine learning models. That means that the system creates the models for you,
right.
But that doesn't mean at all that they are a black box. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Like I said, the outcomes of the models are explained to the user. So when it says, for example, this opportunity has a 60% closing likelihood, or that customer has an 80% churn likelihood, it will never just give that number, but it will always show the reasons why it thinks that is the case to the end user. And to the business analyst, there is another experience even that goes deeper, that surfaces the accuracy of the model, and also a lot of strategic insights that tell you what trends and patterns and correlations have been found in the data in a storytelling mode. So this is really the data telling its story to the business analyst, and thereby giving a peek inside Einstein's brain, if you like, to really explain how this model works. So for us, it's crucial to have this model as transparent as possible.
Very good. Thanks for that. Once again, if you have other questions, please ask them. Pick the brains of our panelists here. Be more than happy to relay them to them. Luc, back to you. I believe you wanted to show something of
Yeah, I think one of the questions earlier was already to become more concrete, and let's try to become a bit more concrete. So one of the first topics before we look at the video clip, let me introduce it a bit. Einstein for Sales or Einstein Analytics actually has this whole pre-built template for sales analytics, and it already has a lot of the best practices from all these implementations across the world built into one standard set. And I really want to highlight one of those dashboards that's in there. And it's called a white space analysis, or some people call it white spot analysis, and that's what I want to show. So let's have a quick look. And what it is, it's basically a way to map your data, either your existing business or your opportunities, versus so your products versus your accounts, or your accounts versus products, which already comes out of the box where you can quite easily filter on industry or on a specific responsible sales rep. And this really gives you insight on where is in my already existing client base room to start sales and start conversations, and seeing where you see that two products are being sold together, but in a different client they are not. We're right into Salesforce, and like Rainier already said, you can directly click through them, so you can already see the opportunity page where maybe some other Einstein predictions, of course, are helping you further on. And that's something that's really great of being actionable, because you don't have to alt-tab from a different BI tool to actually move to that opportunity. What you also can do, and that you saw it a bit ago, is that you can add these quick actions. So when you identify, for instance, an opportunity with a low probability, maybe you want to add that one to a certain marketing campaign specific to fit with that opportunity, to see if it's already there. And that's really a couple of clicks, and you've made the action, and you've actually tried to grow your business.
Yeah, that sounds pretty easy to do. Very good, very good. We're actually getting towards the end of our little webinar here. So if there's any questions left in the audience, by all means, reach out right now, and we can still pose them to the panelists. Obviously, I'd like to thank our speakers today. Any final thoughts, Jasper, from you?
I think it was very interesting. Also, the story of Rainier and then the insights also from the implementations from Luc. Also for me, I learned a lot, and I hope for the audience it was interesting also to have some, let's say, really practical insights, more from the business point of view, how you can make your project successful and what you have to take into account, of course.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I think it's been a delight having you here and sharing all your vision and the results that it has brought so far.
It was a pleasure, Lars. So.
No, very good. Actually, as we speak, we get another question in. Can Einstein Analytics use data outside Salesforce for prediction purposes?
Yes, is the answer.
As a final thought for you.
Well, that's a very good final thought. Yes, Einstein Analytics can very much base predictions also on data from outside of Salesforce. Einstein Analytics is an analytical product where we blend data, where we can transform data, and that can very well come from indeed ERP systems, financial backend systems, external data providers that give you data around your customers or consumers.
Yeah,
so
like the white space data that we've seen in the
exactly. Yeah. So that's a very common use case, in fact. So this is definitely something that we see a lot of our customers do. Yeah.
Maybe good to mention here is, so that's one of also the topics you have to start with, is to think about the architecture, of course, and to, the architecture has to fit what you're trying to do with it. And sometimes that's only using Salesforce data, sometimes that's getting other type of data into Salesforce, and sometimes it's actually putting an extra data layer in between. We're working with one of our clients with Snowflake, and there's recently in the Einstein release, there's actually a write back function now. So actually with all the data you have in such a data warehouse, you can benefit from the algorithms that Einstein offers. And that's what I really love about also the first phase of such a project, is to really start helping a client to get the right architecture in place as well, and make the decisions early on that you cannot change later on. And sometimes it means it's already a grow model that you look into, and sometimes it's already choosing for left or right.
Yeah. Excellent.
Can't agree more. We just discussed quite a lot about architecture. Right? So at the start of the project, I think given our data volumes, we took a very pragmatic approach because data flow technology already in Einstein is pretty powerful to help you out,
Yeah.
even for multi-source.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very good. Guys, any final thoughts from you?
It's been a great pleasure being here. Thank you for this invitation, Lars. It's been
Sure.
very inspiring to hear the story of Canon, and we're very keen to follow that very closely and to help you on that journey. And it's also very inspiring to see the great experience and in-depth experience that NextView can bring to the table when it comes to these products. So thank you very much for having us here.
Very good. Luke, any final thoughts?
Yeah, great. I think if you're getting interested in these topics, or you start thinking about how you should start, I guess get in touch with us. But I assume that you already have something in mind.
Yeah, I just moved to the next slide actually. But thanks for the nice little bridge there. Now, obviously, it's like Oprah here. At the end of the session, you always get the free gifts. No, if you're interested, you'd like to learn more, we have 2 Analytics Champions. That's a global program from Salesforce with 2 people from the Netherlands who both work for NextView. What we'd like to offer you is pick their brains. So we're offering a free consultation to talk to these guys and really see what it would entail, what the results potentially could be. So if you're interested in that, my name and number is on the screen, but also feel free to reach out to Luc or Reinier if you would like to learn more. So we're very happy to offer that to you. So then concluding, I think it's been very interesting. Thanks for the interaction as well for the audience. What you see on the slide here is the resources that we have available. Check out our YouTube channel for our previous sessions that we've done. Topics are on the screen. Our next online event is around Financial Services Cloud on July 7. Hope to see you there. And for now, thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned, stay safe. See you soon.